You know, after I saw the film, it sort of reminded me that a simple story is enough. Just like, I mean, it does feel very documentary, like you're just like looking into the life of these girls. And since no one has seen the film, you want to tell us a little bit about what it's about?
Sure, it's about a home for pregnant teenagers that this woman runs because she herself had been a pregnant teenager back in the 70s, and so she wants them to have a different experience than she had because she had a miserable time in a home for unwed mothers. And in any case, so there's this home for pregnant teenagers, and her nephew comes to do some repairs around the house and finds himself caught up in a love triangle.
Okay, so I loved the movie, but I think we first need to discuss the elephant in the room, which is your mom is in the film. And it's based sort of on a true story that she went through, so tell me about that whole process.
Well, it's the second movie that my mother's acted in of mine, and yeah, after making Exit Elena with her a few years back, I knew I wanted to make another movie with her, and I'd always wanted to make a movie about her years as a teenage mom. I mean, we ended up just taking that as like that was the basis, but obviously it shifted as I developed it with the co-writers, with Chloe and with Cody. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I find my mother to be like insanely entertaining, and she's a New York character.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about, I mean, a lot of people have co-writers or writing partners, but you write always, as you told me the other night, with other people, and in this film you have 2 other co-writers. So what does that process look like? I mean, what's the nitty-gritty of their emails? You guys have like little writing powwows? How does that actually work?
Well, Chloe and I sat together and hashed out the story, all the ideas, and then Cody came in and helped shape them, but it was all in person. I mean, we ended up, like, each morning before the shoot, we'd all sit down and write lines of dialogue for the actors, and then we would have them improvise based on those lines.
So you actually don't have anything written until the day of?
No, we have the outline written, all of the actions written. The dialogue is not written.
So you're working on it. How many days did you guys shoot?
We shot for 15 days.
Okay, 15 days, and you're like run and gun. I mean, is there a freedom in knowing that you sort of, it just has to work in the moment, or is there a certain anxiety that comes with writing the dialogue the morning you're going to shoot a scene, knowing you have one day to get it?
Well, I mean, you have multiple cameras. You know there's going to be this documentary aspect to it that you're going to be capturing. You're going to be capturing these people. It's not like telling a heavily plotted story. It's about the characters. So as long as you have them, as long as you get the necessary information planted in each scene, which is usually very minor, then you're on your way, and the rest of it is actually just getting the details of life. And
so speaking of David, your main actor, he has no credits on IMDb Pro. I stalked him. Yep. So who is he? He's fantastic, but I feel like he's not an actor.
He's my best friend. I've known him since we're both 12. I guess I met him when we were 12, and yeah, he shot Exit Elena. He's had multiple career paths. Now he's a machinist, and he's like the most. He's this grand human being. I love him dearly, and so I always wanted to make a movie with him in it.
Well, it's interesting because you have, David, who's your best friend, and then your mom, but then you have all of these girls that are pregnant, which is like going from a world you relate to a world that I'm assuming you know nothing about, unless you've been pregnant or have had a girlfriend that's pregnant. I mean, maybe. But so what was it like sort of working with characters that were that extreme, female pregnant women, and then your best friend and your mom?
Well, I mean, my mother had been through it herself, and so I talked to her a lot about her years as a teenage mom, and I guess I do a lot of backstory work with the actors, so we sit down and we discuss their characters, so a lot of their backstory comes from them. I
love that. I mean, I feel like all of your films are very raw and they're very you, which takes some bravery, and I couldn't help but watching the film, and there's this exploration about love and being in love with people that aren't good for you. Yeah. And there's a moment where he talks about you get in a relationship with someone and you conform to this pattern to please them, and one of the most terrifying things is to break that pattern and start to live a life without them. So was that sort of an issue that was coming from all of your writers that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, it was an issue that was coming from my life. I mean, I think it's something that David's also very familiar with, and certainly the writers. But I mean, it's something that it just seemed essential to the story. But that monologue of his, you know, it came from him, the way he put it.
Well, given that the film is, you know, about growth for these women physically, but also, you know, mentally for a lot of them as well, and you are so involved, heart and soul and physically, in the movie as a director, in what ways did you feel like you grew after making the film as an artist and as a person?
Well, I mean, I think, as with all growth, you don't see it. It just occurs. I have no idea. Maybe some years from now I'll know. It's a hard question because I make one movie after another because I don't want to think about growth. I think, you know, with each movie you think about, I never see the strengths, I only see the failures. I think that's something that's essential.